good morning. In a few minutes, it'll be good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today to support Hector's family, Marlena and Tina. I want you to know that no matter who you are, where you are from, whom you love, or where you pursue, you are welcome here at the First Congregational Church of Wolfboro. So let us begin our service and listen to these promises of God. God is near to all who call from their hearts. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my victorious hand. Blessed are the dead who die in Christ. Blessed indeed, says the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, for their good deeds follow them. Let us prepare ourselves for worship through the gift of music in our morning prelude, Jesu Joy. Will you join me in our unison call to worship? It's found in your bulletin. This is Psalm 121. I lift up my eyes into the hills. From where does my help come? He will not let your foot be moved. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your life. And coming from this time on and forevermore. Our hymn is Great is Your Faithfulness, and I want to remind you that you can stand or remain seated, whichever is more comfortable for you. You may be seated. Let us share together the Lord's Prayer and then move directly into the 23rd Psalm. Let us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I'd like to open the service up to a few of you who wish to speak, but first I want to call on Hector's daughter, Tina. Okay, let's push it back. Now, you have to talk right into the mic.
The first thing I want to read is a poem. Do Not Stand at My Grave and Weep, by Claire Harner. Do not stand by my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am the thousand winds that blow. I am the diamond glints in the snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. As you awake with morning's hush, I am the swift upflinging rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the day transcending soft night. Do not stand by my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. I need to make a couple of quick adjustments, so give me just a second. I'm sort of datifying a little bit here.
Okay, datifying.
So this was, he was Birder here, and that's his everyday beanie, and so my mom wouldn't get upset. I thought I should wear the fancy beanie while I read. First of all, thank you all so much for being here. I know there are people that couldn't make it, and I'm just so grateful for all of you here, for what you meant in Dad's life and for Mom, and just thank you for being here to share with us. And I'm grateful for the church and everybody at Taylor and Forest View, the VNA, just everybody for really being there for us in this time. So the beanie and the binoculars and the birds were sort of a clue. Most of you probably already know. I don't have really prepared words, so you'll just have to sort of bear with me. I just wrote down memories and things that I loved about my dad. So the beanie, he was a cheeky, proud Scot. He loved birding and animals, and he didn't care what people thought of what he wore. He loved all animals. One of my greatest memories is sitting down watching the original All Creatures Great and Small. We had a small TV upstairs that had rabbit ears and got PBS. The big one downstairs didn't. So we would all sort of gather in there and watch that, and I really got my love of animals from just my dad. And My mom too, of the love of nature, but just really, it was something that was so a part of him. It wasn't even a hobby. It was just so much a fiber of who he was. And whether that was birding or our kitties that we had, or many of you that are in the neighborhood know if you had a dog, that was it. You met my dad, you know. Our cats would follow him around the yard. And we used to have chipmunks, and we would sit outside on the porch and eat meals, and he had tunnels that would go under the table, and you'd think most people would have thought, oh, well, we'll fill them up, you know, but nope, that was Chippy. And when we were eating, and, you know, we had to sort of sit still and let Chippy do his thing and zip around, and a lot of you know from around town, he always had his binoculars, or often with him. He had a hat that he has in a picture there, and his binoculars, and he was a big birder. And he'd always ask me, I have 4 cats and for a while had dogs, and he would ask me, how are the guys doing? And I know those of you that had pets and you know, would always ask and see how they were doing, even when they didn't have cats anymore. He loved his animals. And the beanies, testament not only to the Scot, but also he had that cheeky British sense of humor. And me and my dad would sort of tease Mom. We would do silly things, and she would say, oh, Hector, oh, Christina. We would just get a little carried away. But that was sort of, we all knew it was kind of in fun, and, you know, my dad and I teasing. He used to love shows like all the British shows, Fawlty Towers, Last of the Summer Wine, Vicar of Dibley, and those are all things that I grew up watching and that we share, and Mom and I have been watching some Fawlty Towers this week in his honor. And also, he used to send me comics. He would clip out comics that he knew I liked, or anything with animals, and send those to me in the mail. I live in West Virginia now. And one thing that really sort of shares his sense of humor, and he'd like to sort of play sort of silly pranks, not the pranks you kind of think about today, but my best friend Michelle and I, both big nature people, worked at a nature center. And when we were teenagers, I've always loved loons. My dad loved loons. Michelle loved loons. And so we lived in an area not too far away where there were a lot of horse pastures and things like that. And so there was a pond not too far away from our house. And my dad told me that they had seen a loon there. Well, that's pretty unusual, you know, a small pond in Maryland. You know, they're usually not found at those smaller places. And so my friend, you know, he really talked it up, and oh yeah, and Mom and I saw it, and you know, you should really, you know, go. And so my friend Michelle and I, we were teenagers, and it was evening, and we decided to go out there. So we drove out there, and the pond was on private property, so it was sort of getting dark, and we didn't want to get into trouble, so we sort of crept through the woods to get there, you know, to get close but not be caught. And it was a loon decoy. And my dad knew that. And so that's the kind of thing, he just had the biggest laugh about that. He just thought that was hilarious. He was very sensitive and thoughtful and compassionate, both in his love for animals and children. He really loved children. It came out in his art and his drawings. We had lots of flowers. Mom and Dad are big gardeners, and so he would have a little vase, almost always like growing up by my bedside, and have a little flower in it, and there'd be different flowers, you know. And something I really admire about him, and I think he sometimes caused my mom consternation, is he didn't care what people thought about his appearance. He had some dungarees, just jeans, and they were really, really old. And being the Scot, which means that you don't throw anything out, and duct tape can fix anything, he had duct tape all over those pants. And I don't know how many times I can remember my mom saying, when are you going to throw those out? And oh no, they're good for another few years yet. And he just didn't care. And part of this goes, so it all sort of ties together, these things that I'm saying. Another time he wore these dungarees. They gardened, and so, as I mentioned, there were a lot of horse pastures around. Well, there was a pretty big intersection, and I guess it was near where the horse pastures were, And so the people, I guess, in that neighborhood used to dump the manure there, and people could come by and pick it up at any time. Well, I was a teenager then, and for most teenagers, you want to be cool and fit in, and, and being with your parents is one thing, and then my dad driving out there with his dungarees with me to help him load manure at this big intersection into the car, I was just mortified, and he just thought that was hilarious. He was laughing the whole time, like, what do you care what people think? And, he just thought that was a hoot. And even to this day, he made for my birthday, he made a cartoon about that. He drew me a cartoon about that. Some of you may have seen his art. That was another great one of his loves. And I hope you guys can, if you're able to, can go downstairs. Mom and I picked out a lot of wonderful pictures of Dad. His birding, you'll see the hat and the binoculars in a lot of them. And we also have some samples of his art. And it was just, it's another way that the beauty and the passion just really came out, and his love of nature. He would draw places that he'd been, like Germany with my mom, Bavarian villages, places in Scotland, scenery, animals. He drew some watercolors, children's stories for me that I still have. And one thing that sort of was a trifecta, and it pulled all of his loves together, his love for children, his love for animals, and his love for art. He, for quite a while after he retired from his regular job, he taught art classes for children, and National Zoo, Smithsonian, lots of private schools and camps and everything, and he just loved that, and the kids really loved him. And along with that, he was also, I think for about 4 or 5 years, he was a recess monitor at Carderock School. I think it's middle school, 3rd grade or something. And he just loved that. And he had a deal with the kids. They all knew Mr. Livingston, and I have a book downstairs that they made. All the kids in the 3rd grade drew when my dad left there. And he had a rule where if they knew if they drew him a picture, he would draw them a picture, because they all liked his artwork. So he would have all these pictures from kids, and then he would draw them one and back, and he kept track of, I need to get so-and-so their picture. And this is just this is just a short letter that the teacher wrote that sort of goes with the pictures that are downstairs. This is about the book that the children made from. This book, Dear Hector, this book is a small token of the appreciation and love the students and staff at Carderock have for you. I think of the many ways you help the children, bond with them, and let them feel special. I know how, years after year, your beautiful artwork inspires the students. You create a true bond as you reciprocate drawings. I've had countless children hand me drawings with specific instructions to get their art safely into your hands. They know that a picture from them means a picture back from you, and you have always followed through on that. I still have a Halloween drawing that you gave me years ago for the kids. Each year I copy it for Halloween morning seat work for the students to color. I think that could be your legacy in Carderock's kindergarten, so you can continue to be a part of the little guys' lives when you are no longer with us on a daily basis. Another testament to the impression you make on the children came when we began this project for you. Christine and I were discussing how to present the project to the kids, and I said, I really wish I could make the book with last year's kids, because they all love Mr. Livingston and will be so excited to make a book of drawings for him. My assumption was that our current students had only been at Carderock for about 20 school days and weren't likely to know who you really were yet, not to mention to have formed a personal relationship with you. How wrong I was. When I asked who Mr. Livingston is, they described you right away. I was even more impressed when I look at their drawings and see you drawn from their memories with a far better likeness than I could render. I see pictures of the lunchroom and details that show a relationship when all I expected was prettier, colorful, but generic drawings. The children's love for you is a testament to the caring and respect you show them. You treat others so well, so kindly, that it is only right to have that same degree of caring returned to you. I'm glad that so many years of Carderock students were fortunate enough to have you as part of their school day. I'm glad that I got to know you too. Please remember how special you are to people and how appreciated you are, especially at Carderock. We wish you all the best. We dedicate this book to you. We will miss you. And that pretty much it. Just wanted to leave you with one thing that my mom and I sort of gave us a little chuckle, is thinking that Dad walking into heaven in his dungarees and that hat and his binoculars and telling God, you need more bird feeders up here. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Now, we can bring a mic to you if you don't want to come up here, if you'd like to share some memories. Here comes Joanne. Who would like to speak? Tell a story or a joke about Hector. Over there, Joanne, to Blair.
Just a short word. I remember with appreciation Hector as a man who was curious, interested, engaged, and we had from time to time interesting conversations and phone calls about things like flowers or a point of theology. His mind was large and wide-ranging, and it was always interesting to talk with him.
Thank you, Blair. Someone else? Over here to Krista.
I just wanted to iterate the fact that when Hector came here to our church, he made friends quickly with the children here. And I had 2 young children at the time. And during COVID, he would draw pictures and he would send them in the mail to my kids. And it was really special. And when I told my daughter that Hector had passed away, she was very sad. And she said, oh, I still have his picture that he drew me. So it was very special. He was a special guy.
Mike?
Yeah, Hector's such a special person to me. Excuse me. I work at a food pantry quite a bit, and there was a client that we had. It was a very difficult client. Unfortunately, I think part of it was her personality, part of it was she was dying of cancer. And Hector, he and I used to have long conversations, and she had her chemotherapy over in the hospital, I think over in Dover, and so she was obviously, if she was coming to the pantry, she was not well off, but we were working on trying to figure out how to get her gas so that she could drive to the appointments, and talked about to buy tires for her car. And Hector was just, he was all, I guess you wonder when you have people like that, are they really, trying to game the system? But that didn't matter to Hector. He basically gave and convinced others to give just because of the largeness of his heart. Just a great guy.
Thank you. Someone else? Thank you. Our scripture readings today, chosen by the family, Marlena and Tina, come from Job 12, 7 through 10, and then from Romans 8. But ask the animals, and they will teach you. Or the birds in the sky, and they will tell you. Or speak to the earth, and it will teach you. Or let the fish of the sea inform you. Which of all these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? In his hand is the life of every creature and the breath of all humankind. And from Paul's letter to the Romans, chapter 8, he writes, "Likewise, the Spirit helps us in our weakness, for we do not know how to pray as we ought. But that very Spirit intercedes with sighs too deep for human words. And God, who searches hearts, knows what is the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for the saints according to the will of God, who are called according to his purpose. Everything works together for the good." So let's admit it. There are times when we do not know what to say to God, what we should pray for, what we should pray about. You know it's there, but sometimes it just won't come. We know our hearts are made heavy today by the sorrow of losing a husband, a father, a teacher, or a friend. What are we to do now? Sometimes all we can do is just sit there in God's presence. Words are not necessary, for God knows your heart. If we sit in and with the silence, the Spirit of God may very well intercede for us, just as Paul said in his letter to the church in Rome, that is, with sighs too deep for human words. So in planning for this day, I've wondered if the artist, someone like Hector, experiences presence and courage before or as the inspiration is coming into them. And he first puts that blank easel with a canvas on it. And then what if the inspiration changes after he has put pen to paper, brush to paint? Does he change his mind, start over, or build on something that is already there, that is buried, that he hasn't yet seen? In the book Pentimento by Lillian Hellman, she writes, "Old paint on canvas, as it ages, sometimes becomes transparent. When that happens, it is possible, in some pictures, to see the original lines. A tree will show through a woman's dress. A child makes way for a dog. A large boat is no longer on an open sea. That is called pentimento, because the painter repented, changed his mind. Perhaps it would be as well to say that the old conception replaced by a later choice is a way of seeing and then seeing again. Hector had that way of seeing and then seeing again. I think because it wasn't just his eye he was working with. He wasn't working alone with that. As he drew each plank on the old covered bridge and mirrored each knothole and shingle in the river below, transformation happened. Inspiration became real on his canvas. All things work together for good. Hector's heart saw deep inside the animals, the castles, the covered bridges, the trees and marsh grasses. The essences of the divine fill the white space on the page. That is where God does God's finest work with us, on us, in us. The way Hector loved his students, he taught them to see and draw with their heart, a holy heart. He gave them insight to the love that surrounds them all. We need more people who can see like that. I think God is the ultimate creator of the pentimento design. We are not abandoned, friends, to our mistakes, the sins, the pain we have caused or have received. God is able, through pentimento faith, to send Jesus Christ to turn our sorrows into joy, our sins into forgiveness, and to give us a new canvas, to start a new life again, to repent and repaint the lives we are created to live for God. Our mistakes, sins are covered by the new paint of God's beloved forgiveness for us. All of that is past and nothing shows through anymore. When you leave here today, after a time of visiting with the family and friends and the food downstairs, perhaps you, in your remembrances of Hector, will learn to see yourselves as Hector saw the world and as God sees you, with that new kind of vision, with great love for God in our hearts. Hector lives in the beautiful place now. He has the joy God planned for him. We can say this because we know this, because we have Paul's letter in which he promises the followers of Christ that all things work together for good for those who love God and who are called according to his purpose. Hector lived his purpose, and God has rewarded him with life everlasting. May we all strive to do the same. Amen. Our hymn is Amazing Grace, number 547 in the black hymnal. We've been laid 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun. With boundless days to You may be seated. The antiphonal reading works as a responsive reading. I will read a line, and you will say in response, "We remember." At the rising sun and at its going down, at the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember. At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer, at the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, at the beginning of the year and when it ends, remember. For he lives now and is a part of the canticle of nature, and we shall always remember him. Let us pray. Dear God, with clear and certain faith, we give to you into your eternal care Hector Livingston, a sheep of your own fold, a lamb of your own flock, and a son of your own redeeming. Receive him into the blessed rest of your eternal peace. Amen. Final hymn in Hector's honor, All Things Bright and Beautiful. Number 31, I think.
All things bright and wonderful,
have now a recording, a special recording that Marlena and Hector listen to often. Please listen. For our benediction today, we all know what's happening in our world, and it seems appropriate that we sing, "Let there be peace on earth," for our benediction. The words are in your bulletin. Take you downstairs now. We're all invited to come downstairs for light refreshments and some beverages, so let's do this.